you just done my intro, so that was great. Thank you for that. But I would also say that it's Lorna's first ever chance of doing something here. So, local girl, first ever time doing public speaking. So, apart from when she was in the Air Force, and she told people off all the time. But beyond that. So, what we're going to talk around today is essentially how the research that's done by academia versus industry, sometimes it could be kind of oil and water. And it's difficult sometimes for different types of goals, and so it's difficult for them to blend. And so how do we put the fairy liquid in the middle of it to enable it to blend and to mix and to be better? So I'm going to talk through that. We're going to talk about that from our different perspectives. So as was mentioned, there's myself, there's Lorna, and there's Jessie, and so we're going to go in that order as well. Jessie's going to sit down in a minute because she's very pregnant, so she's got a chair.
Thanks, Colin.
You're very welcome. Oversharing. And so I'm very much from an industry perspective, industry bias, but I do have a foot in academia to see it from that angle as well. Hello, go back. Whereas Lorna's is purely from the industry perspective and military, and Jessie has the academic lens, but then is increasingly working with industry as well. So hopefully we're going to cover the different areas. Hopefully. So let's talk about me. So I was 22 years in the Air Force. I should have put my veterans badge on because there's one there. And then for the last 5 years of that, I was with what was probably arguably the first cybersecurity team, if not in the UK, definitely military. So it's now called Joint Cyber Unit Caution, and that's what it's run by them. But this was 20 years ago. Lou was there as well. He was part of that team. And so then I stayed at Caution for a further 11 years because they had a consortium of partners that delivered the IT into the MOD and the military globally. And so I joined Atlas. I literally walked from there to there, military hat, Airbus pay packet. To run the Security Operations Centre there. Then eventually moved over to HP, still on the account to be Head of Security Operations. I then, after 11 years, left Caution, after about almost 20 years, left the safety blanket of Caution, to join Rolls-Royce PLC. So not the posh cars driven by rich people, who we hate, but the aerospace and defence company everyone else hates to be Russian or Chinese or Iranian. So the 5 years I had there as a cyber incident director was quite interesting with regard to hostile states tinkering with us and stuff like that. Then I had the audacity to move up to the Highlands of Scotland last year and kind of had to leave that role. This is fine, not bitter. So I created cybersecurity, Ginger Cat Cybersecurity, a consultancy. It's only me, so it's not too grand. But I've had some interesting opportunities, with that to work with other organisations, quite big. I want to talk around how some of my experience as well has seen how industry and academia do work well together and in the right environment can flourish. So the first one of that is the NCSC Industry 100 program. So I've been a member of that for getting on for 6 years, 5+ years. And this is where, to supplement the brilliant people in the NCSC, they bring in subject matter experts in certain areas to bring a different lens and to support them and supplement them as well. So, and although it's industry, there is academics doing that field as well. So there are academics in Industry 100. So that's one area that I feel that industry and government, this is probably industry and government with a bit of academia, but it does work. The next one I want to talk about, closely associated, is the RITICS and the Industrial Control Systems Community of Interest. This was initially started by the NCSC, and what it looked to do was bring people that were initially subject matter experts in industrial control systems, OT, put them in a room, virtual room, and get them to create content. And it was academics, industry operators, regulators, government, NCSC, everyone. So And then we decided to open that as well to people that have just got an interest in OT, because why should it just be us talking in a vacuum? And also just because people haven't got the experience, they can bring a diverse lens as well. So now it's open to kind of anyone that's UK based, apart from sales. Sorry, Marie's in the room, blame her if you find her. But anyone can join, as long as you're UK based and be involved in that environment and go to some lunch and learns. I think last week they talked about quantum. I know I'm already over time. Getting excited. And the next one I want to talk about is the British Computer Society. So I'm a fellow of the BCS, and they also bring people together to create content to push out. This is the latest one, well, one of the latest one, quite hot off the press. I don't know if Daniel, MP, local MP, is in the audience, but if not, his face is in there, and his name is in there, and his quotes are in there, so yeah, Daniel's associated with that as well because he used to be part of BCS before he became another Labour MP. So this is another area where it works together. And then, so now I'm going to kind of talk about my academic journey, which was convoluted because I wasn't asked at college and school, so hence I joined the Air Force. And then got the passion for lifelong learning. So I did my bachelor's with the Open University in my 30s, my master's in my 40s, and now my PhD, and I know you can't believe it, in my 50s. So I'm doing my NCSE sponsored PhD, 6 years, 6 and a bit years into 8 years. This is the journey of the PhD, just to give some context as to what I like about academia and what frustrates me sometimes. So because it's 8 years, you can't do a traditional thesis in so much that if you have a good idea in 2019, by the time you finish it 8 years later, who cares? It's already, people are taking over. So it's thesis by publication, so I have to do papers. First one I did, Beware Suppliers Bearing Gifts. You don't have to be published, but it helps. So thank goodness that the first one got published by Elsevier. And it was, I'm not going to tell what it was about, but it was interesting. This goes to peer review because it's in a journal, and other academics look at it. And reviewer number one was great. Reviewer number two was a bit of an arse. But reviewer number one suggested that it's okay, but it could do with a framework or taxonomy. So we did, and it made the paper. It made it essentially what it was. So that awareness from the academic helped make the paper. It's in there, so it's been around banging around for about 5 years. It's probably been read 200-300 times. It's been cited 23 to 55 times, depending where you go. So from the university perspective, it's a big tick in the box because it went into a quality journal. It's been cited. Yeehaw. I loved it at the time. It frustrates me now because it's behind a paywall and you can't bloody read it unless you have a license to read it. So it's what it is. It's what it is. Hey ho. I'm now going to talk about the one in blue, Guidance for Developing Supply Chain Instant Response and Management. And I know I'm so over time. And so for this one, it was going to be a chapter in my thesis. And then the ICS COI said, we would like you to do this for us. So I did. So I did it for the ICS COI. What that did, it freed me up to, when I did the draft, to go out to LinkedIn and said, does anybody want to peer review it? Because I'm not going to have academics doing it. And in a wet Easter, very much like this, very wet weekend, 68 people came back and said they'd have a look at it and peer review it. I might have name dropped the NCSC. But 26 people did peer review it. And they didn't all go, yeah, cool, that's great. Well, they came up with constructive criticism. So, and I think it holds up to the rigor as well. So it got published. It's on the RITICS website. It's on my ResearchGate page. And it's a really good document. It's a really good document, I think. It's only got my name on it. The other 26 people, I don't care. It's all about me. In 2 years, because it's not behind a paywall, it's been read 4,200 plus times, plus whatever elsewhere. So where is the value of research? Is it in a journal? They get cited, tick, tick, tick for the statistics for the university to say they're a research institution, or is it something that's out there? But it says at the bottom, preprints and early stage research may not be peer reviewed yet. it has to be peer-reviewed, but not by an academic. So it's unlikely to be cited because it's not been peer-reviewed by an academic. It's not in a journal. The PhD is a positive experience. Academia is brilliant, but it's how we free up the research to be impactful as well. So how do I use that research to bring it back into my PhD? So the next one is a cybersecurity longitudinal study. So for this, what I did is I reached out to industry. Well, I reached out to LinkedIn, and I said, this guidance, would anybody like to introduce it within their organizations? And I'll interview you at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. And 18 organizations said, yes, please, we'll do that. Some really good, big organizations, all brilliant people. And one of those brilliant people that did take it and spent a year looking at it is Lorna. Yeah.
Hello. Okay,
Hello.
I hadn't tested that yet. Hello, everyone. So I'm Lorna Lambert. As Colin just said, I took part in his research, and I'm going to talk about what that being part of that process looked like from the industry perspective. A little bit about my background. I did 26 years in the Royal Air Force, 6 years of which was part of the Joint Cyber Unit, where I built up a whole wealth of different disciplines: security analysis, incident response, malware analysis, reverse engineering. Really piqued my interest in cybersecurity, and I've never looked back. About 4 years ago, I left and joined a company called OneWeb, who were equivalent, well, not maybe equivalent, but building the same capability as SpaceX. And 2 years ago, they merged with Eutelsat. Eutelsat is now the brand that we all work under, and we have a very unique GEO and LEO satellite capability. We're the only ones in the world that provide that. So it's an exciting time for our business. It's an exciting company to be part of. It's fast-paced industry right now. And I am currently their security operations manager. This is why it was of a great interest for me to get involved in Colin's research. I've not been a participant in a research project before, but I saw it as a great opportunity. Part of my role is to look at continual improvement, perform gap analysis on the capabilities that we've got. So any opportunity for improvement is a clear win for my team, for my company. So this was my experience of going through this process as part of Colin's research. So looking at supply chain risk management and what steps we needed to achieve initially was to get executive level buy-in. If you don't have that board level support from the very beginning of your project, you're going to really struggle to keep momentum going because you're going to stall throughout your project. And then we had to look at, do we have a dedicated role for supply chain risk management? If you don't, you're reliant upon calling upon members of teams from across the business and try and get their support, explain to them why it's a project that they need to get into, and the potential risks involved for not implementing such a strategy. This is clearly going to be teams who are already working to capacity, and wanting to take on yet another critical project isn't always a great conversation starter, but you've got to get momentum going, and this was a great opportunity for me to collaborate with teams that I've not necessarily dealt with before. Once you've got that little stakeholder support group, then you need to understand what your current capabilities look like. You don't want any duplication of effort, and you want to know what processes you can build upon. So when we looked at implementing this strategy, we had to look at what was achievable. This is a 12-month research program, and what's realistically achievable in that time frame. Colin's paper on the NCSC guidance for supply chain risk management was something I knew that would be really valuable to my team to help them understand what kind of processes and thought processes they'd need to go for in the event of supply chain incident. You need to approach them slightly different. Their supply chains are notoriously complex. They need to ask different questions, such as, what connections you've got coming into the business, what connections you've got coming out of the business, what accounts you've got, what activity has been seen on those accounts, what guest accounts you hold with them, and all of these things you need to be able to process. The faster you can respond to the incident, the faster you contain it, right? So, and there's well known, there's many advanced persistent threats using this third-party chain supply attack method right now. So Scattered Spider are notorious for using this tactic right now, and the faster you can get your team working on and responding to these incidents, the better placed you'll be. So this was really crucial for my team. It's already in place. It's providing excellent value for the business, and it's something that we achieved within the given time frame, and we were very pleased with. As with all projects, though, it comes with its challenges. We are a global company. We deal with we found these different countries, they have different my mouth's gone horribly dry. Yeah. They have different interpretations of legislation, and that can be a challenge. It takes time. You rely on your legal team to help navigate you through these minefields, and it slows your process down. And this is where we see this extending beyond the 12-month period. Also, implementing change with existing contracts. If you're in a company that you have rolling contracts, you're able to get those changes in at the next iteration, at your annual renewal. If you're dealing with fixed contracts, you're going to struggle to get those changes through. Again, you're going to be dealing with your procurement teams, legal team, and try and get these changes put into your contracts. But again, it slows the process down, and it's not necessarily going to be achievable within that 12-month time frame. And probably another crucial one that we can consider is the different types of third-party suppliers that you interact with are going to have varying levels on their standards of risk management maturity, and trying to achieve that same level uniform cybersecurity practice across your supply chain is not necessarily going to be achievable, and you kind of have to certainly make some dispensations either way. So there were certainly challenges along the way. This has definitely seen this now going beyond the original 12-month time frame, and it's something we now implement as part of our monthly meetings, and we'll continue seeing this through. It's all part of continual improvement. But I did want to finish on a positive of the opportunities that this project presented to me. I've not taken part in a research project before. When Colin was looking for people to take part, I saw it as a great opportunity, and I found it enormously beneficial. It allowed me to collaborate with teams I'd not necessarily dealt with before. I had the opportunity to discuss ongoing issues and challenges with Colin, and get a research perspective as well as the opinions from people within my own business. So I guess my final point is, if you ever get the chance to take or the opportunity or get invited to take part in a research program, I really recommend you take that opportunity, because there's benefits both ways, and I think it's enormously beneficial for all involved. So, which nicely allows me to transition to Jessie, who's going to talk about her research.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Colin. I'll move on to this slide here now. And also thank you, Colin, for highlighting the pregnancy. So it doesn't happen enough, especially at cybersecurity conferences. Not heavily, though, by the way. I can still walk, I can still move around. As mentioned, my name is Jessie Hamill-Stewart, and I'm a PhD researcher, and I'll be providing a little bit more information about my PhD and also my engagement with industry in just a second. But I just wanted to highlight with this first slide the fact that we've just heard, a lot about kind of industry experience from Lorna. We had a little bit of academic and industry from Colin. Just to reinstate that my experience that I'm talking about here is really very much academic. So I did my undergraduate degree, my Bachelor of Science in Politics and International Relations, and there's a cheer from the back for politics. And then I went straight to join a CDT program. So I went straight from my bachelor's to my PhD, which means that when I was approaching kind of engagement with industry or the ability to speak to different communities, it was very much kind of approaching it blind. So I didn't have kind of this prior experience or connections of industry, which has kind of shaped my own experience. But the collaboration has had many benefits, and I'm going to be talking about two things. Firstly, my involvement in being the part of the Centre for Doctoral Training, which there are some other people who are part of that in the audience. But then also my experience with the SciSpace program, which has given me unique opportunities to not just engage with industry, but facilitate those collaborations as well. But first, before I start talking about those two projects, I wanted to provide a little bit of background information about my research. A bit like Lorna, I work in kind of I research the cybersecurity of space infrastructure. And I do this from a couple of perspectives. So I take quite an interdisciplinary approach. I do more kind of technical analysis, in which I can research threats against satellite ground infrastructure and kind of have a look at kind of what the threats are that are posed to systems, and I can kind of break them down in quite a technical way. And then this led me to write this short paper about kind of mapping these attacks against the MITRE attack framework, actually. And then I also do quite strategic analysis. So I've also looked at kind of cyber resilience and how this varies in the context of space across different countries. And now most recently, what kind of international collaboration is happening in the area of securing space, which is all, of course, really interesting stuff. I'm lucky to do something I really enjoy. And what I've learned, or what I have done as part of an academic, as we all do, is like Colin, I've published papers or tried to publish a couple of papers. In conducting my research, I've been lucky enough to engage with multiple communities because it's quite interdisciplinary research. So, for example, that paper there, I was presenting it last year at a really nice technical workshop focused on space and security. And so it was really nice to go to that kind of technical environment. And I'm using technical a lot, but it really is, it's like a whole different world going to a very technical conference, versus going to one that's more kind of political and social. So the one that's just behind Lorna is the Pan-European Conference on International Relations. So I'm lucky enough to be able to go to very technical workshops, speak to very cool people about kind of how we technically consider attacks, and then also go to more kind of social, political ones and ask about the bigger picture as well. How are we governing these threats? What does it mean for politics and IR more generally? And so this has really taught me that different people approach problems in different ways. They use different language, but there are always commonalities. And so you can always find a way to communicate with different audiences, depending on, you just have to kind of slightly tune your approach in the way in which you communicate, the way in which you talk to them. And it's been really valuable going to kind of engaging in both of these very different communities. Then, when I'm not attending academic conferences and doing my research, I have also kind of pursued some kind of free to attend conferences. So, for example, the Defence in Space Conference is one that takes place in London each year in autumn, and that's all about the defence industry, space, role of satellites and such. It's very interesting. And then I also go to GovSatCon, which takes place in Luxembourg in around early spring each year. And these conferences are really nice opportunities to kind of go out and talk to people in the real world, but people who really, work, people like Lorna, people like Colin, who've worked more directly with this kind of technology, and who have direct experience with the technology and the infrastructure which I research. And so that's always really valuable as well. And what I've noticed in my discussions with these people, with many practitioners across different areas of space and cyber, is that the research area that I'm conducting for my PhD, so securing space, is quite new to me, but it's also new to a lot of people in industry as well. And so again, I was able to find that kind of commonality, even with people from quite a different background or doing very different stuff to me. So, I also wanted to mention the Centre for Doctoral Training. So, you can put your hands up if you like, the other students in the room who are really reluctant. Sorry, I didn't warn you about that. But this is, so this CDT, you can see it's got many cohorts, I think 10 cohorts, and I was part of this one, cohort 2, so I've been doing it for a really long time. I think we're on cohort 7 now. My CDT focuses on trust, identity, privacy, and security issues in large-scale infrastructure. So it's very much focused on kind of critical infrastructure, cyber threats, and I enjoyed researching that. But what's really special about doing a CDT is that it's slightly more, you can do a PhD. So what I'm doing is a PhD as part of the CDT. All these acronyms, right? But what's really nice is that the CDTs are focused specifically on training you for your future career. And what that means is that from the very beginning of your research, you are exposed to sometimes quite uncomfortable environments, such as a room full of people that you do not know. I realize I'm in that situation right now. And it kind of forces you to communicate with people, to have conversations. And that's a really important skill to develop. And you kind of have to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation in order to develop a way to deal with that uncomfortable situation, is what I've learned. And then you've also got an opportunity to kind of present your poster. So they give us many opportunities a year to present our research posters and kind of develop our research pitch and kind of really think about what is it about my research that people should care about? How do I sell my research? And these are all really good opportunities, not just for specifically doing a PhD, but just the ability to communicate is not one to be underestimated. And then, of course, it helps you to kind of build your network as well and get to know people who are wider partners of the CDT program. So that's one way in which I engage with industry. And then another way is through the Sci-Space Connected Capability Network. So this is a 2-year program, which is funded by Satellite Applications Catapult. And I was brought in to be the program lead for this program, probably mostly because of my research area, because it aligns very nicely with it. So the aim of this program is to bring together space domain awareness and cybersecurity communities throughout the UK. And one of the really exciting things that I've been doing over this summer is I've been going around to different parts of the UK, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Cheltenham down the road, London, and lots of really nice areas. And I've been kind of talking to people and bringing people together in a room, not like this, in a proper workshop format, and kind of talking to them about the capabilities the UK currently has to support securing space domain awareness. Hands up in the room, who knows what space domain awareness is? Good number. Free's not bad. Space, for those of you who do not, space domain awareness is all about securing the infrastructure that's orbiting around us in space. It's not just about securing it; it's about bringing together the data, ensuring that data is very accurate, and creating depicting a nice picture of what the threats are in the space, so we know that our satellite is not about to collide with another satellite, create big problems for our ground systems, and also create lots of debris. So space domain awareness is really important. Is that about right, Lorna? Very simplified version, but lovely. Thank you. So space domain awareness and cybersecurity is a really nice program to be part of. What I found in conducting these workshops, in my experience of them, is that there are multiple benefits for breaking down these barriers in communication between academia on one hand and industry on the other. One of those is that academics, now I don't take this as a direct insult, but from my own personal experience, academics are not always the best at kind of really showcasing what they do and getting their word out there. And that might mean because you don't necessarily know the benefits of it or fully understand kind of what opportunities are out there. So as an academic being part of these workshops, it's an opportunity to really emphasize how much expertise we have in this country alone, relating to security, cybersecurity, and also space security as well. And it's been a really nice way to emphasize that academic aspect, because I think it's often underestimated. And then there's also benefits for industry. I mean, we've already heard directly from Lorna, the benefits of collaborating with academia. But actually, I think for industry, they don't always understand academia or what academia is, or the potential opportunities and benefits that could emerge from even just speaking to people from academia. Yeah? 5 minutes. Oof, okay. So I'm nearly finished. So there are benefits for both. And if you want to learn more about space, Sci-Space, then that's the email address. This does take me to my final slide, you'll be pleased to know. Is that 5 minutes for the whole slot? Uh-oh. Okay, so maybe we can share these slides afterwards. Apologies, I've blubbered on. Here are some conferences that you might want to apply to if you're interested in cybersecurity and space. the most important lesson from this is just to be really proactive. If you want to pursue collaboration or even learn about what collaboration is, be proactive, talk to people, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and in doing so, you will learn how to communicate and you will learn how to manage them better. Final slide, build your network. Here are our QR codes for our LinkedIn profiles. Reach out to us, and also if there are any questions in the room, then we'd love to hear them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed to Jessie, Lorna and Colin, and apologies for cutting you short. As everybody else in the room and yourselves I'm sure will also notice, I'm not Hazel. But I've been asked to step in and to moderate the room for the rest of the afternoon. Are there any questions? If anyone has a question, I can bring a microphone to you, if you'd be brave enough to put a hand up. Thank you.
Question primarily for you, Colin, but for the others as well. So how do we get from a situation where peer review by academics with a few hundred reads versus peer review by your industry colleagues with thousands of reads can actually get to a similar level of approval by the research community?
So that's what I'm asking my supervisor. So Professor Avais Rashid, if you want to go and ask him. So that's what I'm kind of challenging as well. It's, and I admit that I am very blind to how it works in academic research universities. I'm ignorant, really. But just from a frustration point of view of wanting to get your message out there. So I did an autoethnography paper a year ago, and we put it to a journal that we thought would be good, and it took them 3 months, 4 months to say, no, you're okay. Because autoethnography is a bit too woolly for computer science and cybersecurity. So then I was like to Avais, let's just put it anywhere, I don't care. Just let it land somewhere and I can push it out. And he went, hey, we want it to be quality, we don't just want to get any crappy little journal. So I said, I'll just put it out on ResearchGate. And you can't do that because it'll compromise if you want to get it published. So we thought we found somewhere, and so we put it to this second place, and they turned it down because it's also ethnography and it's a bit weird. It's a bit, how do we do this? So that's been a year. So this paper has gone nowhere in a year. I love the freaking thing, and so I can't push it out there. So it's frustrating, but I think it's about what do universities want to be? Do they want to be businesses because they need to bring money in? And if so, how do they quantify what's important in their research? Is it publications? Is it impact? Is it the fact that it goes on the NCSE website, or it goes on here or that or the other, or it gets talked about, or there's a documentary on it for the BBC or something? I don't know, but how do you quantify it beyond the traditional that they've already used? I think.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question.
Hi. Thanks, everyone. That was great. Really interesting. And this one's, I guess, is more for Lorna, but please feel free to jump in. Great to hear you taking on board research in industry and being able to apply it. And you mentioned some key points, as in senior buy-in, etc. But you also mentioned the fact that you've been able to demonstrate benefit to the business. Can I ask, how did you demonstrate benefit to the business?
So when we have had supply chain incidents, we've been able to demonstrate improved response times. They're always after those key metrics, and so that was a notable change. But again, having a structure in place, we're able to tick a lot of boxes for our compliance. Supply chain is making it onto the board level meetings now because of it getting included in certain legislation. So I think all of these things that we're starting to get all these boxes ticked and improve our maturity and capability, we're able to demonstrate to the executive levels of where we are in that situation. So I think, it's shown a real good benefit for the team.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So can we have one more round of applause, please, for Jessie, Lorna and Colin?